So just as an introduction, my name is CCNeverender. Most people call me CC. And we do a channel called Speed Docs, which is about speedrunning documentaries. So yeah, we make some cool videos, I think, personally.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen at least a couple of yours already. I must have.
Did you see the Donkey Kong one? Donkey Kong Country?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. We just put out Donkey Kong Country one. That's a big one. The Minish Cap one did pretty well. Did one on Fable: The Lost Chapters, Pokemon Snap, and Tony Hawk's Underground.
Awesome games.
All awesome games. Okay. So to get down into it, so how did you first find out about Kirby's Air Ride? Just sort of speedrunning in general.
Yeah, well, I've been following speedrunning before Kirby Air Ride, and I think I was just like sort of browsing the subreddits daily, and then Russ's post popped up one day, and I was like, "Oh, sick! Someone's actually running Kirby Air Ride." Like, I wouldn't have thought that a racing game had any like big speedrun potential. I was like super new to it all. I clicked on it and I watched it. And I was like, "Oh, that was like sort of disappointment." It was just like looked like just a casual playthrough. Like some dude was just like, I think most of his like vehicles was a wheelie bike or something, and I was like, "Oh man, I could like destroy that." Which is sounds pretty egotistic, but I was like, yeah, cool. So I just like saw that and then I tried to find more. I was like, oh, surely there must be others, but then there wasn't a whole lot. So I was like, oh, cool. Like it's an opportunity to get a sweet game off the ground in terms of speedrunning. So that was my introduction to it.
Okay. Yeah, I tried looking back like through history and trying to find like forums and stuff, and there is one single forum on Speed Demo's archive, and it's like not even that good.
Yeah, which was so surprising. I was like, it was a pretty popular game. Like,
it's one, it's a Nintendo game, and two, it's Kirby. It's a big franchise, right? And three, it's a pretty solid racing game.
Exactly. You know? That's like the more I looked into it, like, and then as I started speedrunning, it's like, wow, this is like actually such a competitive game. Like, it has so much potential. Like, it's got the technical skill to it. So that's was like, I was like so excited. I was like, the first like few months, I was just so pumped because I was like, this is like uncharted territory for us anyway. Until I found the Japanese IL leaderboard, which changed a lot of things.
I was going to ask, how did you stumble across that? Just by Google searching? Or?
I don't even know. Yeah, it was definitely just Googling, and I honestly can't remember. I think I might have found it from like a link on a YouTube video or on like a Nico video, the Japanese video streaming website.
That seems more likely.
Probably found it on there, yeah. And I was like, because I don't think I would have found it any other way. Because I would never have thought to Google like Speed Rider or.
Yeah, it doesn't have any words for Kirby's Air Ride.
Yeah. But yeah, found that, and that was just like my mind exploded. And I'm sure everyone like who'd played the game before and had an interest in the game and saw that would have been the same. It's just like the most crazy like strats, and everyone's just like professional. I'm like, oh wow. So this has happened. They must have been like working on it since like for years. You could tell it was just like.
If you go to their site, there is a thing called Time Evolution tab, and
cool.
And it sort of goes through and it says like these are the first times that these records are ever beaten. So I think there's even a time back in 2005 when somebody set a time, and then some other people came by eventually, and like there's like 3 or 4 runners back in 2010 beating times over and over with different carts and different rides and tracks and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into the older records on that website. That would be cool to see. I wonder if they were like better than us from the very start.
I don't know, because the other thing is that there's a high score site called Cyberscore, and they had times on there as well that were pretty decent, and so they had like all the tracks and they had the carts that were the fastest and stuff like that, and that dated back to 2006, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's like people were running the game. It's just no one was streaming it or recording it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like, time trials in racing games is definitely a thing. So
yeah. Right
I
for the
guess.
picking.
Yeah, I guess it was more like back then, like an arcade style like competition, and it was just like play this time trial, get this time. So the sort of thing that I wanted to do is like bring it to the wider appeal of uh, like a bigger run instead of just individual levels. And I just thought it would be cool to see like all the levels back to back in time trial mode.
I gotcha. Were
More
you
excitement.
so you were around whenever they switched from the start game to time trials, right?
Yeah, so that's that first thing I noticed on Russ's run, and like there were computer NPCs, and the enemies were just like totally random, and I was like, why would you do this when time trials has a completely consistent like standard spawns across the board? So that really bugged me, and I was like trying to contact him with not much reply. So I was like, well, look, the community is small enough. I'll just sort of take charge and be like, look, we need to set some rules, and time trials makes the most sense. But I did talk about it with the other guy, Stone Walker. I think his name was
Waker, I think.
Stone Waker, yeah. And he was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I was like, okay, cool. Like it's going to mean, we're adding 5-6 minutes because of the 3 laps on each course, but the RNG in the normal air ride mode is just like you can't ignore that at all. So, and it gives potential for all the strats that the Japanese runners had found.
Exactly.
But time trials is like the core of this, what makes it so competitive. So.
Plus, it has like the built-in timer stuff. Like whenever you finish a lap, it tells you what time and stuff. It's like it's so much. It's just better.
Yeah,
better overall.
Completely.
Okay. Let's see here. So, was this? So, had you done any speedrunning itself, or were you just more like you just watch speedruns?
Yeah, just watching. My first introduction to speedrunning was Super Mario 64. My older brother showed me. I think it was Siglemi. And I was like, holy crap, like, I had no idea. This is like a thing. People just playing video games fast. So, I think most of the games,
I think changed the game for a lot of people.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But then, once I realized that thing, I was like, all the games that I was interested in, like, was mostly just Nintendo 64 games, which had, like, super popular, like Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario, Donkey Kong. So I was like, oh, I've got no chance unless I want to spend, like, a year working on it. So I was just sort of, like, looking around for a bit more, like, of an obscure game, and then, A-Ride was perfect, because it was good to build a community. It was really, like, satisfying seeing the community, from just a few of us, and now I think there's about, I don't know, 40 to 50 people on the leaderboard. So,
it sounds right.
Yeah, about 50 people. So
that's awesome.
That was pretty satisfying. Knowing that I was sort of part of building that up was pretty cool.
So on the Reddit, or on the subreddit, I should say, you were the one pushing everyone to try to look at the Japanese strats and try to adapt their strategies and watch their stuff. But it seems like for the most part, not a lot of people really followed through with that. Like you don't see any of the Japanese strats really pop up until after you start running. What was it like sort of trying to convince people to look at it and then just watching nobody really?
Yeah, I was surprised that I was the only one using those strats, and I guess people just didn't know. And so I just really wanted to spread, like, guys, look at this. Like, this is insane. And like, even the strats that I was using weren't the top strats at the time. I just sort of picked fast enough, that were easy enough to learn. So.
Yeah, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
But, I guess once my time started to improve, people sort of caught on, and they're like, okay, we can knuckle down and learn some of these new strats.
Yeah. I was going to say, because it's like for, 8 months between Russ and then your first run, we see a lot of like Pear Strike kind of piddling around, and then I think some other guy, Bear J shows up, and then you're like, nah, dog, you guys got to catch up, right? Bam, whip it out, and then boom, you just took it away.
Exactly, yeah. I was like, I didn't want to be like, like, look at me, I'm like the best, because I was like, I know that there's so much that I could improve on, and I'm just scratching the surface here. But I was like, guys, this is like, this Japanese website is like gonna take this game to the next level for like anything outside of Japan. So yeah, I was like, read up, just try and copy what they do, because I think it's sort of some of it, a lot of it's not intuitive when you've just played the game casually. Like, you look at something like Rocket Star and Fantasy Meadows, and you're like, nah, that's the slowest like thing, and doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I think people were a bit like, what? But then
Yeah,
you
they
look
didn't
at the
understand.
videos, yeah, and then you look and like, oh, how are they doing that? Which is really interesting. So
Yeah. So speaking of which, how did you guys really pick up on some of the nuances whenever it's all in Japanese? Right? Does anybody in the community read Japanese, or can they
I
understand?
can actually, yeah,
Oh, you
like
can? Oh,
not
nice.
fluently, but that was a big help. I can sort of understand enough Japanese, because there was like a wiki as
Okay.
well, which actually had a bit more a written out like explanation of some of the tricks, some like mainly the like double tap on the boost pads, some of the rocket star like movement, just a lot of the movement to do with the vehicles. There was like a page for every vehicle, so I did my best, like with a combination of Google Translate and just my knowledge, to sort of read up, because yeah, it was very hard to tell what they were doing just by looking, because it was like so fast, and it's so like uh, it's so slight in terms of running, and like there's a lot of details and a lot of movement based things that you can't really tell what's going on and how they control it. And there was still things that I didn't understand uh, when I was doing my best times. Like a lot of the wheelie scooter tricks, I still didn't understand fully. So I guess we tried to. It was really good when a couple of the Japanese people sort of took notice of us and then started talking.
That's good. Do they speak any English at all, or?
I think very little.
Okay. So you kind of had a weird.
But
We don't speak much of your language. Y'all don't speak much of
yeah,
our language, but
yeah. Like I remember, it was just on stream, and I was like holding my controller up to the webcam and like showing, because I think it was Yakaza who dropped in my stream,
mm-hmm.
and I was just like, yeah, like moving and showing him my movement on the controller, and he was like, oh, use the D-pad, because that's like what is better for the wheelie scooter trick, and I was like, what? Doesn't make sense. So then like he put out a video doing it, and I was like, ah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I think they sort of just dropped some tips here and there on stream, which was cool.
There you go. That's good. That's good. It's good that there's some communication in there, because when there's a language barrier like that, sometimes it's like that just stops it right there in its
Yeah, it
tracks.
was a little bit, but I was like these, to me, like these people were just like the gods of the game, so I was like taking it like anything they said as like gospel. So
They took pity on the mortals and they reached out
exactly,
into our
it
world.
was literally like that, man. I was like,
Okay. So, what was the turning point to make you really start doing runs yourself? Because you were you sort of practicing in the background and you were just waiting until you were really good to sort of put out a video?
yeah,
or?
pretty much. I was just like waiting until I was could consistently beat the record that was up, and yeah, as soon as I see like potential, like, oh, this could be better, and like significantly better, I was like, I need to show these kids who's boss.
Yep, there you go. What was I going to say? I just had a thought and I forgot what it was. Did you stream any of that stuff at all, or was it all just offline? Any
I
guys
definitely
practice or?
tried to stream full runs as much as I could. A lot of it was just offline practice,
Mm-hmm.
Because here in Australia our internet is terrible, and
I
it's
have
hard to
heard
get a
that,
good
yeah.
quality stream, especially for like a really fast-paced game. But
Okay.
yeah, a lot of practice offline, which all the runners know how much hours it takes to like perfect this these levels. It's so like it's very momentum based as well. So it's like as soon as miss one little thing, that'll cost you like 10 seconds.
Oof.
That's like,
Gosh,
which
that
makes it
feels
a lot
so
fun.
much.
Yeah. But also makes it hard, which means you got to sink a lot of hours, which is sort of why I stopped, because I was like, I'm gonna have to like really put in a lot of effort to improve, because some really good runners started coming up. So when Super Senate came in, who had experience with racing games at F-Zero GX, man, he came out and just like floored us, which is cool. Because I was like, sweet, the game, I always love seeing the game getting pushed.
And sort of the bane of speedrunners is like, oh, if I want to keep improving, I have to sink like an exponential amount of time. It's like,
Definitely.
oh, now it's like very, very quickly it scales like out of reasonability, unless you're like a college student with no job or something. It's like if you're an adult, you really don't have all day, every day.
Life is still there. I still want my life, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. So we've heard that story time and time again.
Yep.
Okay. So, that's most of my questions here. Can you sort of explain some tricks for me?
Some of the tricks,
or maybe just I'll just ask you a couple questions. You try to explain it to your best ability. Yep. Okay. So I think you were one of the first persons to really implement spin dashing, because I saw I think your Beanstalk Park was one of the first spin dashes that you put in the run. So for I know what it is, and CJ knows what it is, but like if this is for the viewers, right? So describe to me what spin dashes is.
Spin dash is a momentum / physics abuse on the wheelie scooter. Don't ask me how it works. And even when I started doing it, I wasn't doing it fully correctly, but basically you line yourself up with, like, most of the time a straight edge or wall. You flick your control stick out, then in towards the wall to do the quick spin.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sort of skill comes in timing the A button press. So you hit the wall, press A, and then for whatever reason, you just start sliding forward really fast. And then you've got sort of like a limited time where you can hold the spin dash against the wall before you'll start slowing down. So you want to jump off the wall before that happens, and to do that, you just snap the control stick the other direction and let go of the A button. But I think the more we learnt about it, there's like sort of optimal angles for the analog stick. I think if you pull it down a little bit, you get a bit more speed and stuff like that. But that's the basics of it.
Okay.
And it only works on the wheelie scooter, which is...
It's weird how that only works on that one, because
I think it's the weight.
Okay. Isn't Swerve Star kind of similar in that way?
Swerve Star is a different sort of... Yes, you can spin dash up against the walls, but it behaves a lot differently. I think how the Swerve Star works, which is the vehicle that it only has like go and stop.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just, I guess, my theory, but when you're against a straight wall with the Swerve Star and you hit it, there's like a knockback animation from the wall. But when you're spinning, I don't know, I think it has something to do with like the extra momentum from the knockback animation, but it's carrying you forward instead of backwards or something. But it's not. Yeah,
it's not the same thing. Okay,
definitely not the same thing, but it does make you go a bit faster.
Okay. Yeah, from looking at it, from looking at it, it seems like whenever you do a spin attack and you hit a wall, it's supposed to like bounce you back towards the middle of the whatever, away from the wall. But based on your angle, that backwards angle could be like turned forward a little bit. So it's like your forward momentum and the bounce back angle now makes you go like along with the track. And that makes
sort of
you
aligns
speed up a little bit.
Up with each other. Yeah, and because the Swerve Star has such quick acceleration, that's why it works.
Okay. So
yeah, that was the only big trick. There's that really made a difference whether you were sort of at a competitive level. But there was the double tap on boost pads. Oh, as many taps as you like, really. It's just the way the game works. So when you're off the ground, which is on most vehicles, when you tap A, you'll hit the ground. So if you're quick enough, you can tap the ground twice and double boost off the pads. And then I think the jet landing was really quite unused at the start, but then when people got used to it, it really made a difference to their times, which is on the Jetstar, and which gets like a massive boost of speed when you go off a ramp or a ledge. And then if you land on the ground straight afterwards, you'll carry that momentum. And yeah, that's going to make a big difference to your Jetstar runs.
yeah, I saw you guys doing that a lot. Just speaking of Jetstar and stuff like that, I was going to ask, could you maybe explain some of the choices? Maybe back in the day, I think nowadays, I think wheelie scooter is like used for everything. But
pretty much king, yeah.
Could maybe explain why like Jetstar was used on certain stages, or why Rocket Star was really popular for a while?
Yeah, so it was basically down to Rocket Star, Jetstar, and wheelie scooter, with a couple of others, and they're probably like the simplest below the wheelie scooter. So, I mean, Celestial Valley Jetstar is, I think, no, wheelie scooter does beat the Jetstar on Celestial Valley, but it's basically the really solid, like intermediate choices for vehicles, because you get enough to pull off the tricks, the jet landing. Rocket Star, there is no real tricks. There is some. It behaves sort of differently if you hold the control stick in a like when you're turning. Say I'm turning right, I hold the joystick right when I let go of boost, and I get more speed from the boost. There's a lot of weird boost mechanics with the Rocket Star that sort of I didn't figure out until a bit later.
Interesting.
But the bigger thing, I guess, with the Rocket Star is the gigantic boost. If you can keep the momentum of killing enemies, which we saw that you could based on the Japanese videos. They sort of had the routes laid out so you'd never really have to boost in suboptimal situations on the Rocket Star. So you could basically keep that speed from the boost the whole way.
Yeah, it's nutty. Like, I remember casually playing the game back in the day, and like the Rocket Star was always so slow and boring.
Yeah,
like,
trash,
oh man,
right?
this sucks. Yeah, this is a garbage star. And then watching y'all do runs, it's like when you fully charge up and you blast off, it's like, okay, there's the big speed, but
yeah, and that's what you
killing the enemies. Going. Killing the enemies really helps you keep that, and all the boosts, especially double tapping the boosts, I think is what really, really blows away the competition. It's why the Rocket Star is so good.
Definitely is. And Slickstar, let's talk about Slickstar on Frozen Hillside.
Ooh, all right.
Which I guess is beaten by the wheelie scooter once again. That is
no one is safe.
That is so much fun. The Slicks on Frozen Hillside, because it's the only level where we really get some really unique mechanics. I saw that on the Japanese ILs.
So explain to me, I know, but go ahead and give me a good description of what the Slickstar is and why it's so good on Frozen Hill.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Slickstar, you travel. It doesn't turn basically. If you don't boost, you won't turn. So you can hold left or right. When you're, it turns slightly when you're not boosting, but when you're boosting and holding A, you can turn any direction and you'll keep all your forward momentum until you let go of the A button. So, and while you're sliding, so you're on the ground, so you roll over any boost pads and you get a full boost. So, what you're trying to do on Frozen Hillside is sort of slide into these boosts and line them all up in a row, basically, to get some insane speeds. And also, there's a lot of like slopes. So if you're heading down a slope, holding A on the slick start, you're building speed as well. And because you don't lose any momentum while you're sliding, you'll see runners. You'll slide down one way, quickly change direction by letting go of the A button real quick, but then sliding again, so you don't lose any momentum. So it's just like slide, boost slide, boost slide, boost slide, and it's just so cool to watch. And it's like, oh, you have to really know the level, because a lot of it's actually blind as well. Like, you're not facing the direction that you're traveling. Super cool.
Yeah, I think one of the really cool things about watching the no dupes run is that we finally get to have slick start back, because it's like no dupes like really got me excited. I was like, oh man, this looks so cool. I should really do some no dupes. Maybe you'll see me do them in the future. Maybe one day. I was going to ask what your thoughts were. Were you sort of around in the community whenever they decided to start up no dupes?
Yeah, I've always been lurking in Press Strike's streams and checking the Discord every now and then. So I do exist.
Okay.
Just not actively running, but no dupes has got me, definitely piqued my interest. But I had to learn Turbo Star, and I was like, oh, let's not do that.
Did they use Turbo Star?
Turbo Star is on Beanstalk Park in no dupes.
Oh, that's right.
Which is just like a really awkward thing to learn. I guess once you get it, it's fine. But I haven't got it yet, and it's kind of like making me look like a fool. You watch me on Turbo Star and Beanstalk, and you're like, oh, this guy never had a world record. This guy, what a casual.
Hey, this guy's washed up.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no dupes is really cool. I can definitely improve my all tracks time as well with dupes, which I probably should.
Well, maybe if you got a long weekend or something, you can take some time.
Yeah, well, especially after this interview, got me hyped up, man.
Hell yeah, dude! Let's fucking go. Let's see here. Also, I guess we're kind of just wrapping up here. Do you have any experience with the 5 hot dogs?
No, oh my god, that's the funniest thing. I'd because Pair Strike always had basically his stream would line up basically when I woke up, and before I was in university, so I'd just sort of chill in his stream for like an hour beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yes, tune in. And then he's just like sitting in City Trial, just like next to the chamber. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then, I like watched the clip where like the hot dogs spawn in the chamber. And I was like, oh my God, that is just the most meme thing I've ever seen.
I love the idea
and
of it,
then,
though.
Who's got the record? Is it still that girl?
It's still Pair Strike. Well, Pair Strike actually got the chamber. Okay. So the girl got the chamber as well. Shannondorf, I believe her name is.
Yeah, Shannondorf. That's the one.
And so she got the chamber of hot dogs, but then I think she went in, got 3, stopped, did like a full 180-degree turn, and then got the other ones. And then Pair Strike was like waiting, and he was like, I know exactly what to do. I have the perfect angle of attack, and he got all 5 in one. And then he got it.
Look,
like 2 seconds, and he's like, yes, we did it.
It's so silly. I'd never touch 5 hot dogs, sorry guys, but I actually like have respect for myself.
Yeah, I don't. If I want to do it, but I don't want to do the chamber thing. I just want to run around and pick up.
Yeah, I actually. None of the City Trial, like even like 100 check boxes and things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not like competitive enough for me. I don't know, just too much mucking around.
I gotcha.
I'm all about that speed, you know.